Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here at Trump Reads, and in this video we're going to be doing a quick review of The Dead Indian Wars by Clark Casey. This is the second book in the Damnation series, the first one being Dawn and Damnation, and I've already done a video review of that one. I'll leave a link down below for that. And just a quick disclaimer, this was, I did receive this book in exchange for an honest and unbiased review, just like always. So let's just get started. Alright, now this book definitely was in the same vein as the first one, which is definitely a good thing, as it's just a lot of gunslinging, a lot of humor, just a lot of stuff going on, and it's just an overall great time in the purgatory of the Wild West of Damnation, which is definitely a good thing. And overall, I felt that the author did a better job writing this one over the first one, which is definitely a good thing, showing that he's like honing his craft and getting better as an author, which is, like I said, that's always a good thing. And let's just start with a few of the minor problems I had with the book, and then move on to all the stuff I liked about it. That way we end on a high note. So let's just get started with that. Now, there was one plot device that I wasn't very fond of, and let me just try and figure out how I'm going to phrase this without giving anything away, because I want this review to be spoiler-free. Basically, there's these entities, we'll just say some entities, that are held hostage metaphorically, I guess, yeah, not literally, but kind of held hostage metaphorically by this one character based on what that character has in his possession. And while that's all fine and good, he's able to make those entities kind of basically do whatever he wants. And like I said, that's all fine and good, except that I think these entities could probably deal with that character anyways, just based on what they've done in the first book and in the first portion of the second book. I just feel like what that person has does not really prevent them from basically taking care of it themselves, I guess you could say. And that's a major kind of plot device in the middle of this book. And I just felt that that could have been tweaked on a little bit, just to make it a little bit more believable, just because, like I said, I think those entities definitely could have easily gained the upper hand anyways, no matter what that character had in their possession. Other than that, the only other complaint I would have would be some of the, I guess, phrases and terminology and jargon, which is appropriate for the book, obviously, to make it sound kind of like that old-time Wild Western type genre of the book, obviously. I felt that some of the phrases were just repeated a little bit too often, or sometimes maybe too frequently, just in close proximity to each other. For example, like sodbuster, which is, well, that's a great word to use in a book like this. Basically, it's a slang term for a farmer. Sometimes, like, it was used, 2 or 3 times, like, kind of, not in a row, but, like, in the same paragraph or a couple paragraphs. And I just felt like it kind of got, like, terms like that just got overused a little bit. But overall, it wasn't, like, horrible. And actually, just pivoting to some of the better stuff that I liked about this book over the first one, is that the hyperbole in this book was definitely toned down quite a bit from the first one, with, like, the similes and metaphors. So while like I said, some of the slang was used quite frequently, it definitely, the overall, like I said, hyperbole of all the comparisons and similes and stuff was definitely toned down quite a bit compared to the first one, which is definitely a good thing. There was just enough to give it that kind of old-time Wild West flavor without basically beating a dead horse with it. Now let's move on to some of the other stuff I really like. Definitely the characters is probably my favorite aspect of these books. You have tons of stuff, comings and goings, basically, in Damnation, because like I said, it's like basically purgatory of the Wild West. So you get tons of farmers, tons of cowboys, and gunslingers, and outlaws, and miners, and lumberjacks, and stuff. And they're all, like, weird and quirky, and all have, like, their own, like, little Wild West vibe, and they're all pretty, different. If they're, like, an actual character that has dialogue and stuff like that, they're all different and makes them kind of, like, unique. And like I said, I just kind of like the diversity that starts to happen in this book. We actually have some pretty strong female characters, which is quite refreshing, and they definitely can hold their own even in this, like, rough and tumble town that Damnation obviously is, with basically, like I said, just a lot of guys drinking and gambling and basically with too much time on their hands. So like I said, just a whole cast of characters like comes together quite well. Their interactions and dialogue I enjoy quite a bit. My two favorite characters are Old Mo, who is the oldest character in Damnation, who's been there for well over 100 years. He's been around since like, pre-revolutionary time, so he doesn't even know what half these like guns and like trains and stuff are. and also Bo, who's a black rodeo cowboy. Like I said, just lots of new characters coming in. Pretty funny. They're all quirky and different. And like I said, just the cast meshes really well together, and I definitely enjoy that. One other aspect or kind of quirk about this volume in particular over the first one is that it's entitled "The Dead Indian Wars" basically because the the counterpoint of Damnation, which would be the real world. Basically, in the real world at this time, the American Indian Wars are going on, and obviously that takes place. A lot of it takes place in the kind of like the West. So a lot of the basically dead soldiers and dead Indians basically show up in Damnation. So it's kind of interesting in that in the real world, the Native Americans definitely had the worst of it in those wars. Basically, what that means for Damnation is the basically the soldiers and the gunslingers and stuff get far outnumbered by the slain Native Americans who show up in Damnation. So, kind of makes for an interesting backdrop for when new supplies and especially alcohol when those get short. It makes for, like I said, an interesting backdrop. And so, like I said, overall, I really enjoyed this book. If you enjoy like kind of different kind of westerns, like fantasy westerns or paranormal westerns, and also that leads me to say, even though it is a paranormal western, the paranormal aspects of these books, there are werewolves and vampires. They're not overdone too much per se, I guess you could say. They're definitely there, but they're just like a part of the book. They're not like literally just front and center all the time. So I thought that was really well done. And like I said, so if you like fantasy westerns or weird westerns or paranormal westerns, anything like that, I think you should definitely give the Damnation series a try. I think you like it, especially if you like a lot of humor and a lot of grit with your western reads. So, anyways, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give The Dead Indian Wars a solid 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I do think the writing is a little bit better than the first one. Like I said, that's always a great thing. So, like I said, 4 out of 5 stars to The Dead Indian Wars by Clark Casey. And always remember, read victoriously.